All right, next time. Whew. Wow. There's a good-looking crowd out there. Hey, you guys, the ship isn't tipping too much this way anymore because we have a few people over here, so that's good. Are we good with this? Yeah. All right. Working in the yard and stuff. I mean, I'm just losing my throat. Everybody understand this? It's crazy. I was in the class teaching, and I lost all of the lower tones in my voice, and all I've got is sort of a screech left. So sorry about that. There's a timer running. Did somebody put this on here? It really is 26, 27. You can't see it up there, but I guess that's what it does. All right, I'll hurry. Today I want to ask, what's wrong with this picture? I think it's a good question to ask, and I thought I'd have a little fun with it at the beginning here, and see if this works out. What's wrong with this picture? Now, I looked at this and I thought about it, and I thought, I could almost get behind this idea because I think it's wedged in there pretty good. My problem is, if you look carefully, there's the side wall he's braced against looks like glass. And I'm not sure if that glass was meant to have that force pushing out on it. So what's wrong with this picture, right? How about this? I don't know the strength of these trash cans, but I do know that one of those legs is not even on the trash can. Jill said, I'm married to this man. That can't be true. Anybody want to rent the apartment on the outside here? I get it, but I'm not going out there. Not without lanyard. I'm sleeping in bed with the lanyard on and clipping it, right? That's crazy. And here, anybody know how easy these trash cans just flip over? So I'm not sure this is a good idea right here. Something's definitely wrong, but it looks like it's working. It looks like the lid's collapsing, though. Probably not a good idea. I had to. I can't. I have. Man, I've just totally endoed and crashed, and so that's what this makes this just. I can't believe it. What could go wrong? Oh, what's wrong with this picture? Oh, my goodness. Gosh. Man, this doesn't look right to me. Are those power lines? Or this phone lines? I don't know, but he's really working it. He's got 1 foot on the ladder, 1 foot on the thing. The ladder's leaning over. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I guess as long as he's leaning on the right side of the ladder. But my goodness, this ladder's not even on the floor this side, but he's holding the whole side up. They're probably doing church work, right? They're down on the stairway. We do anything for the Lord around here. I don't know about this. I don't know. But I do know those are canisters of high-octane fuel or whatever. Where's Josh? Josh, does it look like a good idea? You work with fuels or anything? Are you ever around fuel? Maybe those cans are safe, but I don't know. Find another place to weld, I guess. Right? Maybe that's okay. I don't know. This is probably one of my favorite. I don't know if you can tell. Anybody know what that is? That's a trampoline, like a huge trampoline on top of a 5 or 6 story building. What could go wrong? That was a Darwin Award winner, I think. Gosh. Now this one's not too bad. If you'll notice, this ladder's strapped at the bottom and in the middle. And it's hanging off a branch up there. So this actually is, I think this is kind of genius. Except the limb I was trying to cut was right there at the top. About 5 feet above where my ladder would reach. And so I had to do this before Jill got out. Or she would not have allowed me to saw off. I had a branch about that big on this dead tree that was going way out over the street. and Jill wanted that branch taken care of. So I did that, and yeah, I got to admit there was a lack of intelligence at the top of this, but the Lord saved me. I survived. But I can tell you, as someone who I think I'm 65 this year in a few months. Heights are scarier and scarier as you get old. When I was a kid, I was a monkey, but anymore, they're just scary. So what's wrong with this picture? Yeah, it was a little scary up there at the top. All right, that's enough fun with that. But it's a good question to ask, and I ask it because we're in Mark 14, and I want to read the story of Jesus' arrest. And I think we're supposed to ask the question, what's wrong with this picture? And before we read it, I'll just say, look, from just the average Joseph's position, right? The community all around Israel, they've known about this Jesus guy. And it could be said of him, and it was said of him, he went around doing good. Right? That's what he did. What did he do? He went around doing good. He healed people. He fed people. He did amazing things. So from the average person's perspective, for Jesus to be arrested with swords and pitchforks in the middle of the night, something's wrong with that picture, I think they would say. And then also from a Christian perspective, on this side of the cross, clearly we can look at these knuckleheads and say, you guys are so in the wrong here, right? This is Jesus. This is the Son of God. This is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And you're messing around with him and you're mocking him and you're hitting him. And, oh, you guys are busted, right? I mean, on this side of the cross, we know that there's something wrong with this picture. So we know that. But what about from the perspective of the Jewish leadership? Those who were responsible for arresting him in the Sanhedrin, the elders and the scribes. The scribes were the lawyers. They were the experts. They knew exactly not just what the law said, but how the law was interpreted into all the other documents, the Mishnah and the Talmud and everything else. They knew what the law said. And so from their perspective, were they just doing what the law required? Were they acting in good faith and they were just holding Jesus to the standard of the law? Is that what they were doing? Well, let's look at it. Let's read the text and just ask what's wrong with this picture. So it says, they took Jesus to the high priest and all the chief priests and the elders and the teachers of the law. So these are all the people who are responsible for the meting out of the law, of interpreting the law and applying the law. These are the guys. They're the ones. They're the authorities. Peter followed him at a distance right into the courtyard of the high priest. There he sat with the guards and warmed himself at the fire. The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for evidence against Jesus so they could put him to death, but they didn't find any. Many testified falsely against him, but their statements didn't agree. And then some stood up and gave this false testimony against him. We heard him say, I will destroy the temple, this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days build another not made with hands. Yet even then their testimony did not agree. Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, are you not going to answer? What is this testimony these men are bringing against you? But Jesus remained silent and gave no answer. Again, the high priest asked him, are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? I am, Jesus said, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. The high priest tore his clothes. Why do we need any more witnesses, he asked. You've heard the blasphemy. What do you think? And they all condemned him as worthy of death. And then some began to spit at him. They blindfolded him. They struck him with their fists and said, prophesy. And then the guards took him and beat him. And so that's the story. What's wrong with this picture? Were these legal experts and appliers of the law, were they following the law? Well, what do you think the law said about arresting someone in the middle of the night and yanking them in and having a trial? You're not allowed to do that. They knew it. I mean, you could arrest them, but you can't take them and have a trial and call witnesses and pronounce judgment. You can't do all that at night. But they did it at night. Also, we might not know this, but you can't have a trial for a capital crime. Like they're looking to put him to death. You cannot have a trial for that on the day before a holy day. And there's a reason for that. But it's the law. They knew it, but that's what they did. And the reason is because you have to wait a whole day. You have to wait a whole day when you convict somebody of a capital crime before you sentence them. You have to wait. And the law was written this way to give them time for cooler heads, to prevail. And so here they are in the middle of the night. They arrest him, they're going to convict him, and they're going to send him through this, series of judgments. And the next day, which is actually the same day, Jewish thinking, they're going to have him killed. It's all going to happen in less than a day. You can't do that. And they know it. You can't do it. A private residence, you're just going to decide, we're going to have this trial at my home. I mean, we don't know, but they knew. You're not allowed to do that. The high priest can't just decide, hey, let's have a trial in my home in the middle of the night. It all sounds sketchy, doesn't it? Well, it's illegal. It's all against their laws that they set up based on the law of God. Did you notice it said, because they went and got him, and it said with clubs and swords, and these people went and got him, Judas's kiss. We didn't read all that, but they did. And then they brought him to the high priest at his house. And then it said, and then they searched for witnesses. Is that how it works? Is that how it works? Like the police go out and they grab somebody, and then they bring him in, they haul him in, they bring him before the court, and then they say, okay, now we got to go get some witnesses. Is that how? Isn't it supposed to work like somebody's accused of a crime? Somebody commits a crime, and there's an accusation. And then, so they gather him up, and they gather up the accusers, and then the accusers testify, and then the person gets to say his part or her part. Isn't that how it's supposed to go? But here, they arrest Jesus, and then they say, now we need some witnesses. Does that sound sketch? And also, they did get some witnesses, but no corroborating witnesses. And you may have known this part. It's this the testimony has to be established by, it actually says 2 or 3 witnesses, and I'm not sure of the circumstances of why it says that, but maybe because if you can only get 2 and the 2 are solid, then go with 2. But every word must be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. Well, they had witnesses, but not corroborating. You have to have corroborating. But they didn't. But they proceeded. And the high priest tore his robes. Now, I didn't know this. You probably don't know this. But that's illegal too. He's not allowed to do that. In Leviticus 21 and 10, it specifically says the high priest, he's not allowed to allow his hair to be unkept or tear his robes. Now, when do people do that in that culture? Leave your hair unkept and tear your robes. When you're mourning. High priest not allowed to mourn over something. Because as the high priest, he is the mediator between man and God. He's the one who takes the blood into the Holy of Holies. And he's the access to forgiveness and mercy. And so you're not supposed to grieve as the high priest. You're in a position of God's blessing to all the people. So the law says you are not allowed to tear your clothes. But he tore his robe. And then finally, they were striking and spitting on and mocking him. And their law actually said, even if you arrest somebody rightly, and especially before the conviction, their law said that you still have to treat the person with dignity until such time as the sentence is being carried out. If the sentence is, a beating, you can't treat them with dignity while you strip them and beat them, right? But until that time, their law said it. And even the Roman law before a sentence and a punishment is declared, you're not allowed to beat these guys. You can't do it. So here, I don't know how many, what did I read? Maybe, I don't know, 8 or 10 verses. How many things did they get wrong? And this is if I got them all. There's probably more. But I think Mark, I don't think it's an accident. I don't think it's just a coincidence that almost everything we read in this passage of Jesus' arrest is illegal. I don't think that's an accident. I think Mark, and I think it happened that way, but I think Mark, he could have just said, oh, they arrested him, they mistreated him, and they accused him. I mean, he could have just, but he gives us all of this, and I think he's giving it to us because he wants us to ask the question, what's wrong with this picture? These guys are clearly not serving God in what they're doing. Now, I want to circle back to the high priest tearing his robes. What made him tear his robes? Like, I would say, what's wrong with that picture? Like, why would he tear his robes? He knows it's illegal. And so why do it? Is it just theater? Like, what did Jesus say that made him tear his robes? And the first impression someone might get when you read it is, his question is, are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? And Jesus basically says, yeah, right? He says, yeah, that's me. And quotes a couple of scriptures. And then the high priest tears his clothes. And it's like, is Jesus claiming to be the Messiah? Is that why? And that doesn't make any sense. Because his whole ministry, people have been saying, hey, that's the Messiah. And remember, just coming into Jerusalem, what were they saying as they laid their palm branches down and their cloaks down? They were hailing him as the one coming Son of David and the coming kingdom and Hosanna, save us. I mean, everybody's thinking he's the Messiah. There's no revelation there. It just doesn't make any sense that the high priest would like tear his robes and all this. He said he's the Messiah. The scribes knew he's Messiah. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about when the scribes were teaching the people, and Jesus says, hey, why do the scribes say that the Messiah is the son of David? Anybody remember we talked about that? Why are the scribes going around saying the Messiah is the son of David? And we recognize, well, duh, because he is the son of David. I mean, everybody knows that. But we saw what was going on. The scribes were trying to say, because Jesus was the son of David, or because the Messiah is the son of David, that means he is submissive to the system, to the kingdom, to everything above him. He doesn't just get to do whatever he wants. He also has to be under the rules. Because submission goes backwards. It goes from son to father. It goes up, right? So we did that. So there doesn't seem to be any reason Jesus, I'm the Messiah. Oh, tear your robes, and it's horrible. Let's kill him now. It doesn't make any sense. So something else is going on here. Okay? Well, what is that? So I would say, well, what's wrong with this picture? Why is he tearing his robes? Well, what's going on, and you may know that, you may know this, you may have seen this. But Jesus' answer, when the high priest says, are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed Ones? Jesus simply says, anybody know? Two words. I am. You can say I am with the Greek eimi. I am. Eimi. That's the Greek I am. Or you could say I am by saying ego eimi. And pretty much nobody did that. They didn't do that. Well, except Jesus. He does a whole bunch of times. He uses that phrase many times. You probably know at least probably maybe 7 of them. I am the bread of life. I am the gate for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I am the way, the truth, and the life. You know, I am the resurrection and the life, right? Jesus uses that ego and me phrase a bunch, but pretty much nobody else. It's rarely used outside of Jesus. Why? Well, because they didn't want to use, that would be a Greek way of saying the name of God. And nobody says the name of God in that culture. They decided if you don't say the name of God ever, then you'll never even accidentally take the name of the Lord in vain. Gee, let's do that. Let's just never say Jesus again because we don't want to say it wrong, right? No, but that's what they did. And so this was a culture-wide thing. They would read in the synagogue, they'd read the scriptures, and they'd come across the name of God, and they would see that, that Yahweh or Jehovah, some people say, which is not really, that's anglicized. But however they would pronounce it, and we really don't know because they stopped pronouncing it too long ago. But however they would pronounce it, they would see it, but they wouldn't say it. They're reading along and they come across those 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton, YHWH. They see it, and they say Adonai. They see Yahweh. They say Adonai while they're reading. That means Lord. You see? And so that's what they did. And so nobody ever says the I am with that emphatic, ego eimi. They're not saying it. One of the times Jesus said it, you may remember, I think it's in John 8 at the end, at like verse 31 or something. But anyway, they're claiming to be children of Abraham. And you might remember, Jesus says, before Abraham was, and then what does he say? I am. He just said, I am. That's all. And then what they do? They picked up stones to stone him. They're going to kill him. And he said, well, for which of these good works are you killing me? For which of these good works are you going to stone me? Oh, it's not for any good work, but you, a mere man, claiming to be equal with God. When did he do that? By saying, I am. So now, if you're there and you understand that, and the high priest says, are you the Messiah? Jesus could have said, me, I am. He didn't. He said, ego eimi. And anybody ever see Scanners? Back in the, 80s or 90s? It's too long ago. Good thing, too, but anyway, people shook so hard their heads just blew up. I didn't give you a graphic for that. But you can imagine how that would just so upset this high priest. These people want to kill over this. So Jesus says, I am. And he actually says 2 more things. He quotes Psalm 110, which he actually, in explaining to the people how the Messiah is the son of David, but also David's Lord, he quotes Psalm 110. And he says, not only I am, but he's like, and you're going to see me at the right hand of God, and it's not going to be good for you. He's basically saying this because he quotes not only Psalm 110, but he quotes Daniel 7, like 13, 14, I think. But he quotes these verses to say, you're going to see me at the right hand of God and coming in the clouds, or coming with the clouds, which is always like apocalyptic or prophetic way of using the imagery of bringing judgment, like he's bringing the storm. You get that? Coming in the clouds. And so that's basically what he said to, the high priest and everybody there. You guys don't really understand what you're doing, but it's not good, right? So that creates this problem for the high priest. He gets so angry. Now, one more thing, what's wrong with this picture? In this passage and in some of the Gospels where it talks about when Jesus, he was like a lamb before the shearer is what? As a lamb before the shearer is silent, he opened not his mouth. That's a prophecy that is fulfilled here. And so, they brought these accusations, and even in Mark it says, and he didn't even answer a word. But then they said, are you Messiah? And he said, yes, I am, and I'm coming in the clouds. And so how does that work? Did he answer a word or not? Is it a contradiction? Oh, no, the Bible contradicted. No. Understand, and here's the thing. All these words they used against Jesus. You remember, even when he came into Jerusalem, remember 6 different groups brought words to him. Questions, traps. Remember this? 6 different groups came. Pharisees, Sadducees, Herodians, the high priest, the elders, and the scribes, right? All these groups came trying to trap him with words. And what Jesus do? Yeah, he just very simply was able to answer them in such a way that their trap fell apart and they looked humiliated. They shut up. They were silenced. Right? He silenced them by his words. He exposed their hypocrisy. Couldn't he have done it right there in that room with all their words and accusations? Couldn't he have spelled out all the ways they're breaking the law and what they're doing? He could have done all that. And in fact, I can think of at least 2 occasions where they tried to kill him, or at least take him by force. Remember? And like when they wanted to throw him off a cliff, what did he do? He just walked away. Or I think they tried to come take him by force, but he just walked away from them because it wasn't his time. You remember these things that happened to him? Couldn't he have just walked out of there? That's what we're talking about. He had all the power of the universe and more. He didn't have to be there. He could have used his words. He could have just walked out. But he doesn't. And so yes, he answers the question, are you the Messiah? But that's not what the prophecy is talking about. Did he answer the accusations? Did he get himself out of it? And we know you can get yourself out of it because the Apostle Paul was brought before the Sanhedrin and they were really mad at him. And Paul simply said, well, I'm here because I believe in the resurrection. And he said it because he knew the Pharisees believe in the resurrection and the Sadducees don't. And when he said it, they started fighting and arguing, and the Pharisees became his defenders. And they said, we don't find any fault with this guy, let him go. So we know you can get out of it if you're smart, and Jesus was the smartest man ever lived. And so, but he doesn't, and that's the point. He doesn't try to get out of it, and he doesn't try to escape it, even though it's all wrong. It's all wrong. And so the prophecy is true. He did not do that. Now I want to circle back finally to the name of God here, because there's something for us in this. And we know he didn't get out of it because that's the path he chose. We saw that last week. He chose this path. He had that prayer in the garden, sweating like drops of blood, impassioned prayer. You know, God, I don't really want to go through this, but not my will, but yours. So he chose this, and we're watching as he chooses it right there. He's choosing it. And so there's something else being said to us here, I think in the name of God there. Because the name of God, we need to realize the name of God came to Moses. It's not like, oh, look, there's a burning bush. Walk over the burning bush. Hey, there's a burning bush. Burning bush starts talking. Hey, Moses, how you doing? I'm Yahweh. Nice to meet you. That's not how the name of God, that name, there's lots of names of God, right? El, Elohim, El Elyon, El Shaddai, Adonai. There's all these names of God. This name is not just, oh, by the way, here's my personal name. This name came to Moses upon a request of Moses's, right? You see, Moses did not want to go rescue the people. He didn't want to be the guy. I mean, he wanted them rescued, but he didn't want to be the guy. But God basically said, you're going, right? And so Moses is like, I don't speak well, and I'm going to get there, and the Israelites are going to be mad at me. They were mad at me when I left, right? And they're not going to listen to me, and there's no way they're going to believe me and go against all Pharaoh's gods, because Pharaoh's gods, he's got big, powerful gods. So I don't want to go. And then when God's finally encouraging him and convincing him to go, Moses is like, well, who should I tell him is sending me? Right? And listen, he's not looking for a personal name. It's not Fred or Lori. It's not, Sally or Jim. He's not looking for a personal name. It's not what they're doing. It's sort of like the X-Men. Anybody watch X-Men? I was watching the X-Men First Class with my oldest grandson a couple weeks ago. And these guys, it's like their name, like Toad. In that one, Toad was not impressive at all. He had feet that can grab on and hang upside down. There was another guy, I think it was Azazel or something. But this was like this devil creature that could warp exactly to where you are at any given and kill you. And he took out a whole bunch of people like in a second. And it's like, and there's a bunch of these X-Men inside, they're not called X-Men yet, but they're inside a room and they're powerless. So it's like, Moses is saying, like, who should I say is sending me? And God's like, well, tell him Toad is sending you. Toad? What does he do? He can hop on a wall or something and hang upside down. Send me with something bigger than Toad, right? This is the way they thought about these gods. Like they had Amun-Ra, the God over all things, and the sun, and then they had Ra, the God of the sun. These are powerful gods. Tell them the God of the lily pad has sent you. What is that? Give me a name. Give me something powerful, right? And so that's what God's doing. He's providing him a name that means something. And so the first part of that name, the fact is, I am. It's really a good advantage that God is a God who is, and all those gods really aren't. That's a great advantage, right? But just being isn't enough. Just that God is being, and the others are not, that's not getting anybody out of Egypt. You understand what I'm saying? Just being, just having being, doesn't get anybody out of Egypt. Can he do anything besides exist? But we can see that the name carries more than just there's being. And I had a Hebrew professor at Pepperdine that explained this one time, and I thought it was great. But he was talking about a passage in the Old Testament. I think it's where it's either Moses or God, but telling the people. And they use a phrase that is using the same verbiage for the I am. It's using the same, in a little different way, but same sort of phrase. And it says to them, like I think they're getting ready to pick up and move the next day, and he says, therefore, whatever you will boil, boil. Whatever you will bake, bake. The phrasing there in the Hebrew is so similar. It's like the same phrasing of the way they use that I am. And it's recognized that you can translate I am that I am as I will be what I will be. I will be what I will be. Now that adds something to it. God, I'm going to go in there and, and they're not going to believe me. And I'm going to go to Pharaoh and he's going to say, hey, why should I listen to you? God is saying, yeah, I'm not only in existence, I'll not only be there, but I'll be everything and anything that you need me to be. I can do everything I want to do to save you. I'm able to do that. It's all in that name. And he proved it, right? 10 plagues, the Red Sea, manna, bread, right, from heaven, water from a rock, all the way down the line. God showed, I will be whatever I will be. I will do whatever I will do. I am that I am. And you can count on that. And so here's Moses getting ready to deliver the people with the power of, I will do whatever I need to do to save you. And here's Jesus invoking the name of God at a time where he's in the very same spot as Moses, getting ready to save us. Showing us, I will do whatever I will do. I will be whatever I will be, whatever it takes to save you. And what is that in this case? It's Jesus not saying a word. It's Jesus allowing himself to be rejected, humiliated, and crucified. Because God has decided that's the greatest way to hold up a mirror to humanity and say, this is how far you've fallen. Like just this little scene with all this illegal stuff against Jesus. But Jesus on the cross, this is how far you've fallen, which means this is how much you need a Savior. And God says, I love you this much. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do to save you. And we see that in this story. That's not what's wrong with this picture. That's what's right with it. So if that message speaks to you, God is wanting you to have the benefit of all that he did through Jesus on the cross. He wants you to know you're a sinner. I love Rusty's communion. Jill and I both. That was wonderful. We need to realize we're broken. We're a mess. God uses broken things, and we are the broken things. If you're a broken thing and you're still broken because you have not experienced the forgiveness and the mercy and the grace, you have not experienced a God who would do anything for you to know his love. If you don't know that, today is the day. Paul said now is the day of salvation. Today is the day to make a commitment. And so we're going to stand and sing a song, and we invite you to come up if you want to do that, or if you just need to talk about something going on, you want us to pray for you. We'd love to do that too. Whatever your need is, we invite you to stand as we